Hello and welcome to the Charles Cook Podcast. The focus of this podcast is local and state issues here in the state of Tennessee. You can follow my podcast on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, TuneIn, and Alexa. Just search for the Charles Cook Podcast, and you should be able to find me on any of those platforms. Like and subscribe, and you will be notified when I upload new content. The best place to find those links is on my podcast webpage at charlescookpodcast.buzzsprout.com, and you can contact me by charlescookpodcast@gmail.com. Today, my guest is Shephany Davis and Jason Mills. They are from Union County. They have a local grassroots up there, that organization that they're starting to organize and get started. It's called the Tennessee Freedom Coalition. And so with that, Shephany and Jason, tell us a little bit about how your group got started, and tell us about your group, what y'all are working on, and what do you hope to accomplish up there?
Well, we're basically a grassroots organization. We began, actually, we're approaching our second anniversary. We organized in October of 2021. So we've been at this a couple of years. We started a podcast here locally to create awareness about grassroots initiatives for conservative patriots that basically feel their voices have been unheard for quite some time now and wanted a voice. We have a couple of, maybe one actual newspaper here in the county, but our type of voices are often unheard in that publication or ignored. And so we felt like it was time for conservative Americans in Union County to have a voice. And we organized our first parade in 2021, had a huge success, had patriots from all over the area coming in to join us with that. So that's really what kicked it off. And then we began some activism with some local issues that affected everyone here in Union County.
Anything you want to add to that, Jason?
Well, that's how she got started. I came along a little bit later. My involvement started when Union County attempted to or tried to abolish the constables. And I have a law enforcement background. I was a police officer for 8 years and a fugitive recovery agent for 3. So I heard about that by watching a county commission meeting on video. And that aggravated me highly. And so the next day I called her and I said, did you hear about them trying to abolish the constables? And her brother actually used to be one of the constables. And so that got me started, and that just kind of lit a fire under me. And we've been standing up for the citizens of Union County ever since.
Okay. So I know, being involved in activism and stuff at the local level for a while and at the state level as well, I know that you're not always received with open arms by the people in the local government. What has been the reaction to your all's local group?
Well, one of the first things that going back to, again, the constable situation, we did a little protest outside the courthouse there when they were going to take their second vote to abolish the constable. And the local media decided to badmouth us, and we had little children in the protest, and teaching them about the American dream and how you could voice your own opinions. And we were trying to teach them that, and our local newspaper decided to badmouth even the little children for being there, and we just kept plugging along, and we get called names by the media, by local politicians. We have all kinds of nicknames that have been given to us from them, clouds, just all things. Yeah, Cults, tinfoil hat wearers, just lots of different things just to put us down. But as we've gone along and we've won.
Yeah, thank you. Froze up on me here. So
Oops.
Okay, there you are.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No,
But
that's fine.
we've won several battles and that kind of thing, and the more we win, the more we seem to be attacked, and the more we win, the more childish it seems it's getting.
Right. And so that's generally what happens is, when you fight these battles and you get involved, you get called names and stuff like that happens to you, and you know that you're over the target. Uh, you're getting their attention. So you say you're 2 years into this now. So I guess it started with maybe one or two of you having an idea of maybe getting involved. Uh, how has your group been perceived with local citizens, and how they wanted to get involved with you?
Well, we started, of course, picking up as awareness increased. We started picking up people here that had similar values as we did. Pretty much everybody that's a part of this coalition has conservative values relative to government spending and all the things that we have become aware of as conservatives. That's very wrong in this country. And right here in our own backyard, we have as much of a swamp as we have in Washington, D.C. And I think many of our freedom-loving patriots are seeing that. They're beginning to see. I mean, I think people have seen it for years, but all of us have jobs. All of us are trying to work for a living, and I think for too long we've trusted our elected officials to speak for us, and sometimes that happened, and sometimes it did not. And I think it's finally the chickens have come home to roost. We just had a huge tax increase in our county. It could have been worse had we not been around, and as the people had not joined together with us to fight a wheel tax. That was a 66% increase. We also had about a 30% increase in property taxes, and this was one of the most recent battles. We did not, let's just say we did not defeat the wheel tax just because of timing and limited resources and whatnot, but we did create awareness, and now people are onto a lot of things that we saw early on that they didn't know about because of the awareness. So we just keep on rolling.
As you said that, I want to clarify something as far as the wheel tax battle we had. We got within a week is all the time we had that we actually got signatures on our petition. We got 600 signatures, and they disqualified all of them but 100 and
no, it was 246 that they qualified, because state law says that in order for those signatures to count, they must have been registered during the last gubernatorial election, and that's how they get you. But we had a lot of people that came by that were very much, they just wanted a voice. They just wanted to be able to decide, vote whether or not they wanted a wheel tax. And basically the local commission and a lot of their enablers basically tried to bully them out of it. And a lot of people fell by the wayside for that reason.
And our position wasn't necessarily that we didn't want the wheel tax, obviously, but our position wasn't that we were trying to necessarily stop the wheel tax totally. We were just wanting it to be able to be voted on by the citizens of the county, so that the citizens had a decision instead of just our county commissioners just pushing it through, because they've made it known many times that they just want these buildings built so they can put their name on it.
Right. To follow up on, now you said you had the property tax increase and you had a wheel tax increase. Let me ask you a question. I know the economic situation in the county that I'm in, but what kind of economic situation do y'all have? Do y'all have like a large industrial presence? Do you have any industrial presence? What's your largest employer that you all have there?
Basically, the school system is the largest. Union County government, which is part of Union County government,
Right.
And we found that across the state, that's also the case. You know, most of these smaller counties, that's the major employer. And we've had very little emphasis put on establishing tax base, which would mean trying to get businesses to start up here, not necessarily corporations bringing them in, but actually encouraging small business, entrepreneurship, and some of the things that could grow our community and create the revenue that it takes to create, you know, to have infrastructure.
Right. What's the largest city or town in Union County? Maynardville?
Yes, that's our county seat.
Okay. That's what I was thinking, but I wanted to make sure. Sometimes, you know, there may be 2 or 3 different little small towns in that county, but so Maynardville is actually the county seat there.
Yes, we have some other little towns, cities around us. We have the city of Plainview, the city of Luttrell. Is that the other? It's up the only ones. Luttrell and Plainview, I believe, are the only other 2 cities inside Union County, but they're smaller.
Okay. So, but it's the Union County that's doing the will tax and the property tax increase. So it affects all those smaller towns and cities as well. Okay.
Yes.
But Maynardville is your bigger city, bigger town there.
Yes.
So what's the population of Union County? Do you know?
Union County is roughly 20,000 citizens.
Okay. So that includes Luttrell and Plainsview as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not a as far as population is really not a large county at all, as far as, you know, the population area. So your biggest employer in the county is basically the county school system.
That's correct.
Okay. So that makes a lot of sense. That's, as you said, we've seen that a lot of throughout the state, most of these county budgets, the largest portion of that budget goes to the school system, and then mostly to sheriff department and operations of the sheriff department, but most of the time it's to the school system. So you've had so you've grown your group over the last couple of years. You've had some success getting people out to come and get involved to fight against these wheel taxes and stuff. You're getting pushback from the local politicians and stuff. So what is your goal for maybe over the next year to accomplish? Are you trying to recruit people to maybe primary these politicians, run against them, maybe, and start getting your own local candidates elected to the county commission? Is that your goal? Is that your vision of what you wanted to accomplish, to turn that government seat back over to the people?
You want to answer that?
That's what we started doing this past election, and we interviewed any candidate that wanted to be interviewed. We didn't care party affiliation or anything else. Our only stipulation was that candidate had asked us to be interviewed. We weren't going out and asking them, because we thought that if they wanted the people to hear their voice, they would ask us, as opposed to us begging them. So what we did was we had criteria that we as a coalition came up with, and if those that we interviewed and, you know, got to know and things like that, if they met our criteria, we endorsed them, and we had some success. I happen to be one of those candidates that actually lost, and that's a whole totally different story if you want to go down that rabbit hole. But we did have some success, and so what we're trying to do for the future is to try to cultivate our own candidates, not necessarily interview folks and endorse them, but actually get candidates from the coalition to run, because we know they actually stand for pretty much the same values that we do.
And
So,
actually,
Jason?
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Stephanie. Sorry.
We can talk more about this at the end, but on October the 19th, we have Mr. Kurt Riley, who's coming over from the Tennessee Conservative Constitutional Party, Constitutional Conservatives, and we are starting a Union County chapter of that. From my understanding, he's already got several of those chapters started across the state, and so we'll be one of the first counties to join in that effort. And basically they do a lot of the same things we do, in that they recruit and vet candidates that are running for these offices. And so they're coming over on the 19th to show the citizens how they've done it successfully across the state, and how we can all work together in our network to make sure that we have the most constitutional believing American citizens running all aspects of our governments.
Yes. I know Kurt Riley, and I've interviewed him a couple of times. He's doing a fantastic job in Sumner County. What they've done is outstanding, and I'm glad he's sharing that knowledge across the state of Tennessee. And they've done a fantastic job. So it'll be a wealth of knowledge for you guys. One thing I'll tell you, Jason, is you never lose. Okay, you either win or you learn. Okay, and through your experience of running, I guarantee you learn some valuable lessons that you can share later down the road. And with that teaching from Kirk, you will be able to take what you've learned from that and apply it and make you more successful in what you're doing. There's sometimes failures, failing at something is a good lesson. And the problem that we have in the grassroots movement most of the time is we have great people who want to get involved, and they run and they lose, and they think, well, nobody can win. I'm just not going to do it no more, and they go away instead of taking what they've learned and then trying to learn more and being ready for the next time. So don't crawl in a hole or anything. Stay involved and take what you've learned and learn more with it and apply it the next time.
Right. And I appreciate that. We, as far as my campaign goes, we worked really hard, and we did everything that we possibly could. We put a scare in them, for sure. We had the current mayor and several current commissioners and other political folks that were calling me and wanting to be, best friends with me all of a sudden, including the local newspaper. They were sure I was going to win. Everybody knew that Jason Mills was going to be the next county commissioner in the 4th district. Everybody knew it. And so we went in to the election feeling really good, and I was the only candidate that actually attended early voting every single day. The only candidate that did that for the entire 2 weeks. And so, like I said, we felt good, and like I said, everybody knew I was going to be the winner. And then the election night came, and we came up 100 and some odd votes short somehow, and I'm not trying to sound like Trump, but we had some funny business, and we had proof of the funny business going on, but we just couldn't follow through with the lawsuit and enough time because of financial situations and
limited time, actually.
And that kind of thing. But like I said, and I said that because for instance, like I said, I was the only candidate there for the entire 2 weeks of early voting, and they say I only got 10 votes. And I knew better than that, because I knew more than 10 people that came and voted for me. So so it was just a funny business like that happened, including on election night, even some elected officials that won their election came up and shook my hand and apologized to me and actually said, "We know you won. We don't know what happened." And
Yeah.
so just things like that make you wonder. And since the election, I've had two or three, I guess you'd call them high-ranking officials in government, or former high-ranking members of government, actually come to me and tell me the same thing, that they know that I won, but that's just how Union County politics work. And so, like I say, I'm not trying to sound like Trump, but that's just the situation that I had to handle.
Right, right. Well, it's seems like it's that way in local elections, and they'll do anything. I've got my own story. You can go watch some of my latest latest podcast. You can see, and we'll be addressing some more of that here in the next week or so. But yeah, we got our own. Every little city or county has their own political swamp, and people just don't realize that it's as crooked as DC. That they don't see it on the nightly news every night, and usually the local media is part of that, just like the national media is part of what's going on in DC. So anyway,
That's exactly how it is here in Union County.
We have our own version of Rachel Mad Cow.
Yeah, Rachel Mad Cow. Yeah, I get it.
That's my name for her.
But just to give you an example of how the local media handles things, we do, and we've had like Knoxville media come out and cover some of the things that we've done.
Mhm.
And, the reporters are showing live broadcast, with our 30, 40, 50 people out there, at these protests. And our local media always goes back to, we had 6 or 7 people. Now the newest is 8 to 10.
8 to 10, yeah.
So we've grown, I guess, with the local media from 6 to 7 to 8 to 10, but never gives us credit for anything that we do or what we stand for. It's always bad mouthing us and attacking us. And it's just, but now anything that goes on with local government, as far as the actual government side, it's all cupcakes and rainbows and
cotton candy.
Yeah, it's all good. It's always all good.
Oh yeah, same thing here. It's like I said, every small town in America is basically the same way. But the great thing is, because of the internet and stuff, we have ways of dealing with that. And one of the great ways is building your list. And I'm pretty sure Kurt will explain that to you more. And if he doesn't, contact me, and we can explain it to you a little bit more. So, but yeah, you got to build a list. Every time you do something, work on building your list, and sooner or later you'll have as good of control or good as information getting out to the people as the local media. And but anyway, I'm excited that you guys are doing something in Union County. That's one of my focuses of this podcast, is to spread the news about the grassroots throughout Tennessee. There's so many counties, as I've said, in these little cities that are going through the same thing that we're going through here in Hamilton County, in Morristown, whether it be Jefferson City, Dandridge, Sevierville, wherever. Some folks in West Tennessee that I've interviewed. So many of these small towns are going through that, and their people are starting to come together to push back. And they're starting to see, we've been focused on Washington so long, but the people that affect us so much are right here in our own backyard. And so I'm glad of that, and I want to help you get your message out, and help you get resources to help you all do what you need to do to become. I think I told Stephanie the other day when I talked to her, You do not have to have a large grassroots army to do it. You just got to have a well-trained SEAL team to be effective.
I like that.
You can
That's
be a
great.
well-trained SEAL team. If everybody's trained well and they know what the mission is and they know what their job is, and everybody comes together to meet that goal, you all will be successful. Sometimes you can get a large army that's not on the same page and they're doing their own things, and get that focus group, that core group, and make sure that everybody understands and focuses on the mission to complete that mission, and you'll do great. Okay. And one thing, one of my
Absolutely.
mentors who I've known for, I guess, 10 to 12 years now, one thing that he's taught that you need to understand, unless you're politically feared, you will not be politically respected. So remember that. Write that one down before you leave. Unless you're politically feared, you will not be politically respected. When you walk into a county commission meeting and they see you and they know you're there and they say, "Oh God, there's Stephanie and Jason. What are they going to hit us with this time?"
Yeah, we feel that when we walk into those meetings. Absolutely.
And the thing is it's not just what you say at those meetings, it's how you take it and can spread that message of what they're doing to the community. Once you're able to get that message to the community and turn up the heat in the community, you will start having great effect. And that's one thing Kurt and those guys have learned down there. And that's why they're so successful in what they're doing. And people want to be a part of a winning team. So when you start succeeding, you will start growing as well.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Right.
and they have called us, of course, with the name calling. They've called us liars, but the funny thing about it is when we report something that from a meeting or we have documentation, they can never tell us what the lie is. They can
Right.
never point out a specific lie.
Right. And that's why keep receipts. Anything, always have receipts. So when you say something, you have something to back it up to prove it. And, when people see that you have it, then they'll understand, no, they're not lying. They have proof. They're calling them liars, but where's their proof to prove that they're lying? So
Exactly.
And we've had actual citizens, maybe not necessarily members of the coalition, but actually question some of these local folks and ask, well, what are they wrong on, or what have you, and they never can get a straight answer. And so they come to find out doing their own research, which is what we tell them to do. We tell them all the time during our podcast or whatever, don't believe what we say. We don't want you to believe what we say. We want you to go investigate yourself.
right.
And so some of the citizens go and do that, and they find out that what we said is exactly right. And then it makes the other folks look like what they are is a bunch of liars. So
Yeah. And so when you have the receipts and you can show it, look, I've had people come to me that I've never met and they've seen me on my podcast, and they come to me and say, "Hey, I want to thank you for what you do. I've learned a lot about local government from watching your podcast. And I thank you, and keep doing what you're doing." And I love it because that's why I want to do this, is to help educate the people what's going on locally and throughout the state. And you guys keep that up and keep the pressure on. And times get a little difficult sometimes, but keep pressing. And you're making a difference. If you wasn't making a difference, they wouldn't attack you. Understand that. They pay no attention.
It's kind of
They
like
pay no
safety.
attention to the ones that don't matter.
Effective.
So anyway, you got anything else you want to add before we cut this off?
Another example of one of our what we consider a win, I guess, is and goes back to being called a liar and all that kind of thing. We had a situation with the county commissioner that's also on the planning commission that I made it known during county commission meeting that he was going back to the planning commission and he wanted to get some zoning. And Union County doesn't have any zoning laws, so he wants to get some zoning done in our rural community around here. And he had a big speech about why he wanted it, about pretty houses with a bunch of junk around and all these things. Well, we found out about it. We watched the meeting and everything. We wanted the citizens to know that, hey, our local government is wanting to now tell you what you can do with your own property. And we got called all kinds of names and we were called liars. He never said it, blah, 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 blah. I mean, his family members were even attacking us because he never said it. And so to squash that real quick, I cut the video of the meeting and I just played it on the podcast. And I said, now call me a liar. And he resigned from the planning commission in the next couple of days.
It's amazing how that transparency works.
Yeah.
One thing. Go ahead.
And that's what I say, keep receipts. Keep your receipts. And when you see things like that, if you see it on social media or they're on Facebook and they post something, screenshot that. Keep it. You never know. 2 months later, you may need it. If you see it on video, you say, oh, I better keep a link to that video. Keep those receipts. That way you can always go back to it and everything. So, and use it. Hey, these people work for us.
Right.
We don't work for them. They work for us. And this is what happens so many times when we elect these people to the city council or the county commission. We elect them to be our representatives to that local government body. Once they get elected, they could become the government's representative to us. They tell us why the government has to do what they do instead of telling the government why you shouldn't be doing what you're doing.
Exactly.
That's what happens when we elect these people. We have to have good, principled people to understand that they work for the people. They do not work for the government.
Absolutely.
And that's what we need. And that's why groups like this are important. You got to have, as I said, that core group that has the understanding of what the mission is, what the principle of the group is, that you don't waffle on those principles. And it's about liberty and freedom, small government, and keeping government out of your lives and keeping those taxes low and not wasting money.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
I went to a meeting a couple of weeks ago and I had a city council member ask me, said, is there anything that we do right?
We've had that question also.
Yeah. So anyway, well, anything that you want to follow up with before we end?
Just and I wanted to invite you down. I think we did on the phone, but I wanted to invite you down for October 19th. That's on a Thursday. Our guest will be Kurt Riley from the Tennessee Constitutional Conservative Republicans, and he's coming down to speak to our people about some of the things that have made them very successful over in Sumner County as well as across the state on how to take these seats back for the people of our counties and how to get rid of or how to at least diminish cronyism and keep our regulations low, our taxations low. And the problem that we're having right here in Union County as well as everywhere else, we've got Republicans sitting on these seats that are not acting Republican, and that's a huge problem. And so that's it from 6:30 to 9 on October 19th. It's on a Thursday night. Everyone is invited. RSVP here on our Tennessee Freedom Coalition page, or just send me a text at 865-279-0730.
And that is a Facebook page, right?
Yes, Tennessee Freedom. Tennessee tell us her name. Tennessee Freedom Coalition. I've got a lot of groups going on right now.
Yeah.
Tennessee Freedom Coalition is where they can RSVP. They can send us a message or just text me at that number.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Jason, you got anything else?
Hey, I just appreciate you having us on your podcast here, and you're welcome on our podcast at any time. And anytime you'd like us to come back, we'll be more than happy to do that as well. But like you said, the main thing about our group is we're just trying to fight for the citizens to have a voice and to have somebody to stand up for them, because a lot of citizens we find just talking to them are afraid of the government, and they're afraid, and they some of them have actually been threatened by government officials, and so we're some people's only voice.
And let me say one more thing, and I'll let you go. But we've even had people inside the largest employer tell us that we would speak out, but our jobs can be taken from us as quickly as they were given,
Right.
or we can be demoted. And so there's a lot of patriot teachers out there. There's a lot of patriot government employees, but they're afraid to touch anything like this.
Hey, exactly.
Right.
And we have a few elected officials, we won't say which ones, but we have a few elected officials that actually support us behind the scenes and thank us for what we're doing, although they can't be as vocal as they'd like to be to support us, because they're afraid of, again, the backlash they'll get from the other government officials.
The blackballing.
Yeah. I get it. Yeah. You'll have those that says, "Hey, I want to tell you about something, but you didn't hear it from me." Wink, wink. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. I know what you're saying. There's some of those out there, and they're good folks, and you have to understand where they're coming from.
Yes.
So, and if they're just a lot of them are just like us. They work for a living. They have a family. They have bills, and their livelihood is on the line, just like us. And we have to understand that. But we still want them to do their job.
Absolutely.
You still got to do your job. So, all right. Well, with that, so we'll bring this to a close. We've been going probably about 40 minutes now. So time flies when you're having fun. So with that, Stephanie, Jason, I appreciate y'all joining me today. I will help you spread this message. God bless you. Keep up the good work. Keep fighting. I know it gets a struggle sometimes when people are beating you down and talking about you and talking about your family, and your family's telling you some things that's being said. But just remember, that's when you're making a difference, when they start attacking you. So keep that in mind. High five one another. All right, they're coming after us. We're doing good, and keep moving. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for having us on today.
All right. God bless you. Thank you for viewing this. Share this information, especially if you're in Union County. Spread this information with your neighbors and friends, and understand that you got a group of citizens there willing to stand up and help fight for you and your family living there. With that, God bless you, and please watch and join us again on the next podcast. Thank you. Bye-bye.
God bless.